Welcome to Modern Farm Business Podcast. This podcast is designed to help the farm leader bring their business to the next level. We'll cover everything from leadership and finance to strategy and planning. I'm your host, Dean Heffta. Throughout our lives, we are continually seeking to understand the world around us. Those who figure out the patterns and adjust accordingly end up having more success. Every day, we're working to make sense of the world. As leaders, this is critical because the patterns we see and the experiences we've had inform our decision-making and our planning for our business and our lives. We look to role models, we learn from experiences, and we form beliefs about how we're going to go about creating success, however it is that we define success. As time goes on, we shape our view of truth, of what works, of what won't work, and so on. The more success we experience, the more confident we become that we really have things figured out. And that might be the case. But the challenge is the world is continually changing. So there's risk in our confidence that knowing something is a certain way and it's the right way. The reality is that that truth might only exist in a snapshot in time. Let's go back to post-war U.S. auto market. In the 50s and 60s and 70s, the American automakers focused on design, not quality. If it looked cool, the growing consumer market was going to buy it. Almost no attention was really paid to the long-term quality of the product. Much of what got produced was poorly made, poor handling, and got poor mileage. But the manufacturers weren't really concerned. Their profits were strong, and hey, if we're making money, we must be doing something right. But change was coming. The first shot across the bow was in 1973 with the oil shortage. This got the American consumer realizing the cost of their gas guzzlers, and it opened the door for some more economical alternatives. At this point in time, here's what the U.S. automakers knew. People wanted big cars. People will still buy even if they aren't perfectly reliable. People will always buy American-made. And people aren't concerned about mileage. These were facts that informed their strategies, their plans, their approach to manufacturing, and the types of models they'd release. For the manufacturers, it was laughable to think about any threat from Japan. In their mind, what they thought of Japanese manufacturing was cheap wind-up toys and motor scooters. But the world was changing. The Japanese knew that to compete, they had to do so in a way the American makers weren't prepared for, with low-cost, high-quality cars that got great mileage. By the 1980s, the market was ready for what Japan was building. The rest, they say, was history. In 1980, GM's American market share was a staggering 62%. Today, that has dwindled to less than 18%. Evidence of the risk of being convinced that what's working today will work tomorrow, and all we have to do is work harder. So, what are the things in your world that you know to be true? It could be your beliefs around employees. Maybe it's around your definition of what farming is and what it isn't. What if you shifted your view of who your customer is? Perhaps the things that you know about agronomy and crop production could be turned upside down. The longer we've been doing something, and the more important it is to us, the more at risk we are to resisting potential alternative possibilities. GM had been in business 70 years by 1980, and its core business was making cars. That's what they did. With that history, every new concept, new approach, new way of thinking created what's called cognitive dissonance. It's the distress of holding in your mind an alternative view to something that you already believe to be true. It creates tension that our mind, or in GM's case, the organization, wants to resolve. Often the easiest way to resolve that tension is to simply reject the new idea. The Japanese manufacturing methodology was not new to American manufacturing. But they had no cause to integrate or implement that philosophy because what they were doing and how they were doing it was working. So, in our lives and in our businesses, what can we do to insulate ourselves to this challenge? I suggest the first thing is to get clear about what you want. What are your goals? What are the outcomes you're looking to achieve? When we lose sight of the goal, we can get overly focused on and then protective of how we do things and the beliefs we have surrounding how we do those things. By having a clear vision of what you want, though, we can open ourselves up to new ways of thinking, new ways of problem solving. This helps us to be more interested in succeeding than in being right in how we do things. Also, do some reflection. Think back to the things in your life that you have believed and later realized that you weren't seeing the whole picture. This can give us a dose of humility that maybe we don't have all the answers, that we probably don't understand everything about something, and that there's probably more to be understood yet. Another key tool is good questions. Seeing many sides and many possibilities requires being able to ask challenging and thought-provoking questions. Could be questions like, what if this thing that I believe wasn't true? Or, who is an expert that I can talk to about this area of my business? Maybe, what happens if this market that I'm serving goes away? Could be, why do I think that this way is the best way to do this? You could add to it, what are 3 other ways this could be done to get that outcome? Questions are powerful and they get us thinking in different ways. Finally, an approach that's useful in interviewing candidates is called seeking contrary evidence. You could consider this a type of question, but it's really about an awareness to prevent us from getting locked into a perspective with a candidate. But it's useful in other areas as well. Here's the concept. The candidate you are talking with has given you a couple of examples of how they have a habit of being disorganized. You sense yourself getting a strong belief that they aren't going to work out because of their organization skills. What seeking contrary evidence says is to give the candidate an opportunity to show where they have done just the opposite. So in this case, I'd ask them to give me an example of a time where they organized a project or they did show a high level of organization. I'm looking for evidence to disprove my belief rather than continuing to look for evidence to support my belief. We can do the same in our world. Maybe I don't believe that no-till is possible to work in my area. Rather than looking all around for evidence to support what I believe, I start looking for examples that can disprove what I believe. Maybe I look for people who are doing it right now and having success, or I go to a conference to learn more about approaches to no-till. This doesn't mean that what I currently believe is wrong. It may not ever work in my area. But I'm not simply taking that at face value and looking for evidence to support my belief. I'm looking to disprove it. And the process of disproving it either leads me to a new way of thinking and a new way of seeing things, or it confirms what I already believed. Regardless, I get to a better destination. For me, the quote, "It ain't what you know that gets you in trouble. It's what you know that just ain't so," sums up the risk of the blind spots that can be hiding behind our beliefs and our convictions. Simply being aware that this exists can help to raise our leadership game. So, what is it that you know that may just not be so? Thanks for joining me today, and thank you to Water Street Solutions for making this podcast possible. If you want more farm business insights, go to waterstreetconsulting.com. Check out the articles that are listed there. Look for the latest issue of the Smart Series newsletter. You can sign up for it on the webpage, and every issue that comes out, you can get delivered right to your inbox. There's all kinds of great tools and topics in areas of your farm business that can be helpful to you. Check it out. I hope you have a great week, and I look forward to seeing you again at the next episode.